Hi everyone. Today I'd like to show you three puzzles, and they're all mate in three puzzles. These all these puzzles are going to be played from white's perspective, which means the white pawns move up the board and the black pawns move down the board. Here's the first puzzle. I'll give you some time to pause the video and figure out a solution. Okay, welcome back. Now the move we had to find in this puzzle was queen to h6. Now if you notice, the black king has two options. He can either go to a5 or b4. What happens if he goes to b4? Then you get queen to c1, and now the black king has two options, a4 and a5, and both of these moves lead to the exact same checkmate. Let's see what happens if you play a5, queen to a3 checkmate, and the exact same case if you go to a4. But that's not the only move the king can play. Like I said, he could also go on a5. What if he went a5? Then you get king to b3. Now the reason you're not going to king to a3 is because of b4 check. And in this position you'll notice the black king has no moves. And this would have been the same case if you went if the white king went to a3. But the problem in that is because the only move black would have had was b4, and you don't want that to come with check if you want it to be a mate in 3. But now black will play b4, and this time it doesn't come with check, which is why you can play b6 checkmate, which is just a mate in 3. That was the first puzzle. It's pretty easy one to start off with. Let's go to the second one. Okay, I'll give you some time to pause the video and figure out a solution for this one too. Okay, welcome back. The move you had to find was knight to e6. This move is important because it covers these two squares, and your goal in this puzzle is to force the white king back to this square where he currently is. Now the white king has four options. Let's just see what the black king. Now the black king has four options. Let's just see what he could have played. Black king could play e1, f1, or f3. Now let's see what happens if you play f1. Then you get knight to f4, and if you notice, the black king has no squares. The only square the black king has is e1, but then you get queen to g1 checkmate immediately because this square is covered by the knight. So you can't play f1. What if I told you whether the black king played d1, e1, or f3 in this position? It always leads to the exact same checkmate, the same set of moves. Let's see what happens if you play d1. If you play d1, you get queen to g1 checkmate, and as you can see, it's covering this entire row, and the white king is covering these two squares. So the black king has one option, e2, but then you get knight to d4 checkmate. I'm sure you can see white's the exact same case with e1 as well. But can you see what's the exact same case with f3? F3. Let's see why it's the exact same case. If you go king to f3, then you get knight to g1, like I said. But now if you notice, all the green squares are covered by the queen, the red square is covered by the knight, and the blue square is covered by the pawn. The pawn that's just been useless this entire game is now useful. So now the black king is again forced back to e2, getting the exact same checkmate. Let's go to the third puzzle. This one's my favorite of them all. It's also the hardest of them all. The first two puzzles were composed by Sam Loyd. This is not composed by him, but this is definitely my favorite one of them all. This is also mate in 3. I'll give some time to figure out why. Okay, welcome back. If you saw queen to g5 check, this one doesn't work because the black king can just move back and get away from those knights, and then you'll never mate in 3. So there's no good continuation in that one. If you thought of knight If you thought of queen to g6, the black can just capture the pawn, and then you have no way of checking them again, and you have to save this knight, so there's no continuation. The move you had to find was queen to g7. And now this queen to g7 move is better than g6 because it's covering this square, which is protected by the knight. So now if the king decides to capture the pawn, you get queen to d4 check. Queen to d4 check. King only has one move, b3, and then b4 checkmate. But king doesn't have to capture the pawn. Sometimes they won't capture the pawn. What if you decide to go to c6? Then you get c5, and now the king has no moves. The only move the king has is capturing the pawn. But then you get queen to c7 checkmate. Now this is a very good looking checkmate because not a single piece is touching the black king. The black king is just completely isolated, it looks like, but it's also checkmate. I just wanted to mention that. But what if the black king plays b6? Not c6, b6. Now you go knight to b5, and if you notice, the black king has two options. They could go a6 or a5, or c6 or c5. Let's see what happens if they play a5. It's the same case, the a6 as well. You get queen to a7 checkmate, whatever they play, a6 or a5. But what if they decide to go c5 or c6? Then you get queen to a7, queen to c7 checkmate. Same case. That's what happens if you play king to b6. But there's one more. There's two more moves the king can play. I mean, there's one more move the king could play other than b6, c6, or capturing the pawn, and that's d6. What happens if king plays d6? Exact same move, knight to b5, but this time it comes with check. Now the king has three options. They could again go c5, c6 or c5. This time they have one extra option, e6. I already showed you why c5 or c6 is bad because of queen to c7 check mate. But now what if you play e6? This is a new move, but now the checkmate is knight c to d4 checkmate. This is the checkmate. If you notice, these two squares are covered by this knight. This knight covers this square, and then these two squares and these three squares are covered by the queen, and the square is covered by the pawn. So it's checkmate. Those are the three puzzles I'd like to show you. I showed you. If you enjoyed this puzzle, please like and subscribe. Thanks for watching. Bye.